Thank you for watching the Louie File with me. Recently, my wife and I go and get to share the gospel and do teach Bible lessons, or share the scriptures, I guess you'd say, with some men in our local prison. Well, recently I talked to them about the incarnation. I shared a video on the Louie File about it, mostly what I shared with them. And afterwards, the men were all leaving. They were coming to shake our hands, and they were going to leave the building, go back to their pods for the night. And one young man came up to me and he said, "Louie," he said, I don't really agree with everything you said." And I said, "Oh, really? What is that?" And he said, "Well, I don't believe Jesus is or was God." Huh. Really? I said, "Why would you say that?" Well, we had a few minutes of a conversation before he left the building. Well, at first there was a little bit of tension there, and I could feel it rising up in me that he was challenging me, and then I thought, no, wait a minute, he's not challenging me, he's challenging Jesus' very own identity. I just spent 30 minutes prior to this sharing with him how in John 1:1, the Gospel of John 1:1 says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." And you go down a little further, in John 1:14, it says, "The Word became flesh and dwelt among us." So if you just take those two verses, the Word was God, and the Word became flesh. If you just take those verses, and then he says, well, all through the scriptures, Jesus is talking or praying to his Father. And he says that God sent his Son. So he believed, or he was thinking, his reasoning was Jesus was the Son of God, but he wasn't God. And he's trying to parcel out these two things. And I said, so wait a minute. I said, so in other words, what you're saying is you don't believe in the Trinity. And he goes, yes, that's right, I don't believe in the Trinity. And I was like, oh, okay. I said, well, you know what? When it comes to God becoming a man, what I've been talking about, the incarnation, it's a very mysterious thing. No doubt about it. I'm not going to sit here and try and tell you that I understand and can relay all that to you in human words. But I will say this, there is a mystery. And I shared with him, I said, I believe that Jesus, as a man, went to the cross by faith. He went there in excruciating, he had warfare in the Gethsemane, in the Garden of Gethsemane. He said, Father, if there's any other way. Then he finally came to the conclusion, but not my will, but yours. So there's obviously this human will that's at play here, that Jesus was feeling pulled away from the cross. There was a sense within him that he did not want to do this. This, to me, is a fully honest and truthful display of his humanity. But then, in the end, he agreed, and he went to the cross. Now, here's what I think. I think he went to the cross by faith. He went to the cross believing that God, his Father, was going to raise him from the dead. Now, in Romans, this verse right here, let's see, Romans 6, see if I can find this really quickly. I was not prepared. I didn't know how I was going to say all this, but I'm just sharing this story with you. Romans 6, verse 4, it says, "Therefore we have been buried with him through baptism into death," and here we go, "so that as Christ was raised from the dead through the glory of the Father, so we too may walk in newness of life." So it tells us right here that Christ was raised from the dead through the glory of the Father. Alright, so that's telling me that Jesus as a man went by faith to the cross believing that his Father was going to raise him. Now, in one sense he had to do this because he was going to be dead. What does a dead guy do? He does nothing, right? He just lays there. He went into the tomb a dead man. And God the Father 3 days later raised him back. That's one side of the equation. And that's what this guy was telling me. But then I said, but wait a minute, there's another side of this equation. In John chapter 10, verse 17 and 18, Jesus himself said, "For this reason the Father loves me, because I lay down my life so that I may take it again." Huh? No one has taken it away from me, but I lay it down on my own initiative. I have authority to lay it down, and I have authority to take it up again. This commandment I received from my Father. So on the one hand, God raised him by the glory of the Father. And on the other hand, it appears that Jesus himself laid down his life and he picked it right back up again. Now you tell me, according to those two things, that's not mysterious. But you know what? This is exactly the way it should be, and this is exactly the way I want it to be. Because you know what? If I can just go and figure out God, then that would make me God, would it not? So there's a certain level of reasoning that comes into our what we do in life. I mean, we come to the scriptures with a certain amount of logic and rational thought. But just mere human reasoning will not get us where we need to go. The Bible clearly tells us that human reasoning can't make this work. In 1 Corinthians, the Apostle Paul said, "Where is the wise man? Where is the scholar? Where is the debater of this age?" And he said, "Has not God chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise?" And he said before that, he said the preaching of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to us who believe, it's the power of God. And by the foolishness of preaching, God is rescuing and saving us. So there's this mysterious thing here. But what I would like to do the following videos, not sure how many that might be, but we'll just see what happens. I want to share with you some things specifically out of the Gospel of John. You know, if you really want to know who Jesus is, I would say the Gospel of John is a really good place to start. And he uses several times, Jesus uses the phrase or the title, I am. And it harkens back to when Moses was going to go into Egypt and tell the Pharaoh to let the people go. And God told Moses to do this, and Moses said, well, he's just stuttering and stammering. He's like, who am I? He said, how am I going to do this? He said, who shall I tell them sent me? And so this is when God dropped the big bomb on him, and he says, tell them I am sent you. So this is God's revealed name. This is who God told Moses he was. So then when you look in the Gospel of John, you see Jesus using this term, I am, talking about himself. So the people around him in his day knew what he was saying very clearly, because almost every time that he did this, it caused more and more anger and more opposition and more threats and more attempts at his life. There's several occasions where they attempted to kill Jesus long before the cross happened. But he managed to slide away, get out of the way, hide himself, outwit and outsmart them, because he is God. I'm here to tell you, I believe he is God in human flesh, and now he is God in us, Christ in us, and he has restored the glory of God to man for all that by faith receive him. So I hope you'll stick around and you will journey with me through some chapters in the Gospel of John as we look at these I am statements, and that maybe you too will eventually get convinced, if you're like this young man, that Jesus in fact is God, but he also is 100% man, and that is the mystery of the ages, but it's also the key to our salvation. Alright, thank you for watching the Louie File. I hope to see you on the next edition, the next installment, the next episode, whatever that might be. Alright, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.